A lot of great stuff we're going to talk about. First, let me get the advertisement stuff out of the way. We're on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube. Would you like and subscribe? That would really help. It's a real fun way to support us. We're trying to get this YouTube channel up over 1,000. We'd really love if you would subscribe on any platform that you're using. We are also have our own apps, the Gate Church of Jacksonville and Louis D. Sienna Ministries. So you can download either one of those apps. The Louis D. Sienna will have more teaching packages and stuff like that, where the Gate Church of Jackson will have events at the church, and we'll also have our weekly messages and sermons like this one will be on there. So you can download those too. We're also on Instagram and all those things. So check us out. We'd love for you to like us. Now, right now is open season to join the Arise Institute. Now, what is the Arise Institute? The Arise Institute is a year-long, monthly package of training. Now, I have thought about how to train up people who are not local and stuff like that, because I normally do it locally and raise up people and get them prepared for ministry. And there's a lot of effort that goes into that. So I created a package. It's going to be both online, and we'll have some personal contact. We'll have some mentoring. We'll do stuff like that. Go check it out at louisdcn.com and see what's included with it. Okay. I don't want to take up a whole time in here doing that. All right. So I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic here with you right now. We're going to talk about this. That's called the spirit of envy and strife that derails a lot of people. And I want to talk about this and why this is important. I was just writing some things down this morning about this encounter I had on the ancient pathway with God. Now, if you haven't even heard me talk about the ancient pathway, it is an encounters I've been having with God over the last almost 20 years now, maybe over 20 years, where the Lord talked to me about the ancient pathways. And so you can go check that out at louisdcn.com. I do have a package on that. But one of these times I saw these two spirits, and they were along the road of the ancient pathway. And I was watching these men and women as they approached the gate of destiny, that they kept on they were just, all of a sudden they turn around and they would start walking in circles, confused. And I was really shocked. I asked the Lord, what were these two things? He said, they're the spirits of envy and strife. And they're seeking who they might influence and who they can capture and cause confusion in their life. So I want to talk about this today, if we would. Now, there's two things I want you to understand. All jealousy is not wrong. I am very jealous for my wife, like insanely jealous for my marriage. Now, that word jealous is found in Exodus chapter 20, when it says God's jealous for you. Now, that word jealousy is not envy necessarily. That word jealousy really denotes the zealousness that we have in our marriage. I'm very zealous. I'm very, very jealous for my wife. If another man was to come up to my wife and try to, smooth talk her, I'm insanely jealous to protect my marriage and my wife. And I'd say, hey, dude, what are you doing? Out. Okay, it wouldn't go. I wouldn't be happy with it. Let's just put it that way, right? Because she's my wife. I'm protecting that relationship. I'm protecting my love for her and my joy I have. And we've been married almost. It's going to be 38 years this January. So I'm very protective of that, and I'm insanely jealous of that. And she is of me, and she should be. Like, we protect our marriage. But then there's envy, and envy is a dark side of that. Envy is it's covetousness is what envy really boils down to. You covet something that isn't yours. You want something that isn't. You want your neighbor's wife, your neighbor's car, your neighbor's truck, your neighbor's house, your neighbor's this, that, whatever it is. And you covet it. This is the word jealousy and envy that comes out of. This is where it's like, it's not, good. Okay. It's dark, because God is jealous for you, and he's jealous for me. In other words, he's zealous and he's jealous, and we're not allowed to worship other gods. My wife's is not allowed to flirt with other men. I'm not allowed to flirt with other women. Makes sense, right? But we don't really think about this that often when it comes to God. Or listen to me, what we're going to talk about a little bit is even our ministries and our walk with the Lord. Okay? Israel, it says, had a zealous attitude towards God. It says this in Romans 10, but not according to wisdom. But James gives us insight in the dark side of when we're dealing with envy and strife, and it's something that I want to just touch a base on here and tell you that, believe it or not, many people fall by the wayside because of this one. And we have to be very careful of it in our lives, because it's very easy. I mean, you go easy. It's easy to allow ourselves to be taken by these spirits. And I'll talk about it in a second. Let's read James chapter 3, verse 13. I'm going to read it in NASB just because I want to. It says this: "Who among you is wise and understanding? Let him show by his good behavior his deeds in the gentleness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy," or envy as it says in the New King James, jealousy or selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant or lie against the truth. This wisdom is that which comes down from above. This wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic. Okay? For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every evil thing. So think about this thing. So I've watched ministers, sad to say, who were on a path to their destiny, and unfortunately they got jealous of someone else's success. And all of a sudden they got consumed with taking down that person, or they got consumed with discrediting them because it wasn't happening in their ministry. Now, I have seen this I've literally played golf with a world-renowned Christian leader, someone I highly admire, actually began to criticize someone else I highly admired. And this person, I finally looked at this person and said, does everyone's ministry have to look like yours? And he said, well, no. I said, well, does every minister have to look like you to be valid? No. Then what are you doing by tearing down another man's ministry? By the way, the person he was criticizing is a person I knew to be holy, loving, truthful, and very powerful ministry. Very powerful ministry. There was nothing I could see that would make this happen except for this. His movement was becoming bigger than this movement. And jealousy was it. It was jealousy. It was really ungodly envy and strife that was coming in. And so we have to be very zealous for the things that God gives us to steward, in the sense of, I'm going to guard it. I'm going to guard my vision. I'm going to guard my dreams. I'm going to guard my hopes. I'm going to guard my prophetic words. I'm going to guard, and I'm going to be jealous for them. But that jealousy is a zealousness to see the things of God happen according to God's plan. Envy is when it's someone else's and I want what they have. And that's where it becomes envy. And that's when you begin to tear down. You begin to manipulate. You begin to try to do stuff to get a part of it, kind of thing. And I've always been the opposite guy. I don't like taking advantage of friends. I don't try to get dates with friends. I'm not the guy to call you up and say, hey, I'd love to come and preach or something like that. Because, and now look, when I got a church, when I started a church, I had a home group, had about 30 people in that, and we started a church out of that. When I had a building and a church, weekly meetings that were publicized, that kind of thing, whatever you want to call it, I'd get phone calls after a minister came into my church. I invited my friend Jeff Jansen years ago, came into the church, and I got calls from his so-called spiritual sons and said, oh, I saw Jeff was there. I'd love to come and preach at your church. And they were just trying to, they wanted what Jeff, the favor Jeff got, they wanted it. I didn't know him. We had no relationship. I've listened to people talk about, why did that person have a revival and then get jealous because they didn't have that? Like, let me just say this. Some people are very jealous the way God used Todd in Lakeland because they felt Todd wasn't worthy of that. By the way, I don't think Todd thought he was worthy of it. I'm good friends with Todd. I don't think he thinks he was worthy. As a matter of fact, he tells a story. I was exhausted going into that. I was not in a good place. And then all of a sudden, this God poured out. What are you going to do? Instead of, and people gotten jealous of that. I would see that. Yes, by the way, none of us. Some people ask me, like, I've been married almost 38 years, and I never tell people I have a perfect marriage because I don't know what that is. What is a perfect marriage? What is a perfect ministry look like? Look, where there are no oxen, the stable is clean. But where there are many oxen, but much profit comes from oxen. Like, what are you going to do? Do you want something that looks flawless, something that's sterile? But that's the problem. Like, if you try to create something sterile, it can't reproduce. It has no very life in it. But if you're going to have life in it, you're going to have problems. This is just the way it is. I have a very wonderful marriage, and I have the most amazing wife. My wife is the most perfect woman. But I don't mean she's more perfect than your wife. She's perfect with me. Like, we built this life together. We are one. And I'm always the guy who's always trying to work on it, even go deeper. And because I feel that here's my goal at 60. I know I'm 60. I don't feel 60. Okay. I got to be honest with you. Sometimes I feel like I'm 30, which isn't good all the time. Healthy wise, I'm in great shape now. I'm not excellent. It's not my 20s shape. I used to work out 5-6 hours a day. I make it about 40 minutes now. Yeah, I'm not trying to do what I did back then, but I've lost a lot of weight. Me and Kathy are in the gym 4 days a week. And I'm getting myself, I still have some goals, even in my own physical shape. I still want to lose some more weight. I want to really get into shape. All right. But I know I'm 60. I can't not, I don't ignore that fact. And so what are my goals now at 60? My goals now is to, number one, I want to raise up a couple generations behind me. I want to give them that start because Randy Lesher did that for me. Okay. So I want to help that generation. I obviously want to pour my life into my children and all that. But here's my goal for me to say this the best way I can say it. I am trying to be intentional with everything. I'm being intentional in my love for my wife. I'm being intentional for my love of my kids. And I have 2 wonderful daughters-in-law that I just absolutely love. I'm trying to be intentional with everything. I got 2 grandkids. I want to be intentional. Sometimes, I don't put my giving to my church, my tithe and stuff on auto pay. And the reason I don't do it, I could actually do it. Okay. I could do it. I could literally do it. I know what we're getting paid. Me and my wife. I know. I can just do it. Here's why I don't do it that way. Here's why. I don't do it that way because it's very easy to take it for granted. Let's put it this way. My internet bill is on auto pay. I don't even think about it. Okay. It's just paid every month. Sounds wonderful, but I have no thought in it. I have no thought and processes in it. It just comes out. And what I'm trying to do is have intentionality in everything that I do in my life. To be intentional with everything that I do in my life. So I'm intentionally doing things with forethought. And I want to take this to God. I want to take this to my wife. I want to take it to my kids. I want to take it to my ministry. I want to take it to everything in my life to be so intentional until the day I die. I've made this statement. You've probably heard it on some former things. My goal is not to be married to Kathy until I die. We will be married until we die. We are committed to each other. That's not even a problem. It's not even a thought. I want to be passionate, zealous for her every day until I die. I owe her that. I owe God. I owe that to God to be zealous for him every day of my life. Not just to habitually read the Bible, but to be zealous for him because he's zealous for me. He desires me. He desires you. And I want to be intentional. One of the things that keeps us from this intentionality is the things Jesus spoke about. And it's usually the third one. Deceitfulness of riches, desire for other things, right? These are things that trap people, okay? They take hold of people, and they don't realize it's gotten a hold of them until it's too late. And I've watched this in ministry, and I've watched this with people. How do we stay very intentional? Listen, it says this, and the cares of this world. Okay, what's one way to lose that zealousness? Cares of this world. We just get bogged down with life. You got to go to work. How many of you have a job that you go to? I walk 60 feet across the house. Sometimes I don't even do that. Sometimes my day after Kathy goes to work, it's just sitting on my laptop and doing work right in the bed because I don't even get up because it's my laptop, and I could type a lot better for some reason on my lap than I can when I'm sitting up here. It's just more comfortable for me, and I'll just start typing things out and doing stuff. Sometimes I'm just editing and stuff, and I'm just doing it. I don't have to go to a job. I kind of miss having an office, but it's not necessary. It's just, it's not necessary. So and then I go meet people for lunch and stuff like that. And then I come over here. That's my office. Okay. But some of you get up and go to work. And I understand that. My wife does that. She goes to work. I get up with her, make her coffee in the morning. We get up and work out. I'm just trying to be very intentional with everything in my day. To not take things for granted and to be thankful every day for what the Lord's given me. I'm extremely blessed. I'm extremely blessed. I literally I was looking at my wife yesterday. I'll just give you this thing. She had her eyes dilated. She had an eye doctor's appointment yesterday. And my wife's got these beautiful eyes. They almost looked blue yesterday morning. More like a hazel, but almost looked blue yesterday. And I was just looking at her, and I just looked over at her while we're at a stoplight. And she goes, are my eyes really big? And they were like the blacks of her eye. The pupils of her eyes were dilated out, huge. It almost looked like Disney eyes, And I looked over and I just looked at her and said, you got the most beautiful eyes. You always have. And I just I think it hit her. I am so in love with my wife, and I'm so in love with my God. And how do we ward off the envy? By the way, it's not that I haven't been beat up, distracted, okay, from pain and hurts. I've had to deal with all those things as ministers. Anyone who tells you there's no pain in ministry is lying to you. There's just pain in life. No one has perfect interactions with everybody. Some people, you'd have to live in a cave. It just doesn't happen. It's how we handle those things, right? I just remember looking at. I look at my wife every day, and I'm just so thankful for her. I really, and I'm probably more expressive than her. Okay. I want to be that way with God. And how do I ward off this stuff? I've watched people get envious of others. When you're a pastor, and I'm someone who raises up people, so I give people the opportunity to preach. Even I'm there, I could preach. I don't wait for myself to go out of town to give someone an opportunity to preach. That's not normal, by the way. But I watch people get envious, and I always say this: look, if I would tell my team, I said, look, if I honor so and so, if I honor anybody on a given day, that shouldn't bring dishonor to you. If me honoring them brings dishonor to you, you have an envious spirit. Do you understand that? If honor coming to one takes away from you, then you have an envious spirit. You're now envious. You think, number one, you think honor is something that's a limited thing, and if it goes to someone else, it means there's none for you. If I honor you one day, and the next week I honor another person, it doesn't mean you lost your honor. But that's how envy works. Envy thinks if God does something in someone else's ministry, or God does something in someone else's business, you take it like dishonor. Like, why didn't you do that with me, God? That's where envy comes in, and it's demonic. And what does this? It starts accusing God. It will start actually accusing God. And I've watched this. I've watched people literally watch them go from joy to sadness because of envy. I've never been that person. I think, now, not because I'm so great. That's not why I've never struggled with that. It's because I think some people have this esteem and needs to come down a little bit in a way, like they got to get rid of the pride. I don't think I had that pride thing when it came to, I never thought I was the best person in the room or anything like that. Now, some of that I've had to correct because some of it was a very low self-esteem, an unworthy kind of attitude of myself. I had to correct that. I had to see the value Christ had for me. I had to see the value that I had in myself. I had to have proper value for myself that I didn't have younger. Okay, and I've worked on that. And I have to, by the way, my tendency is to go the wrong way, right? It's to go to lower self-esteem, where some people's is to get into pride. Both of them, listen to me, both of them are rooted in pride. You know what I mean? Well, when you have low self-esteem, you're believing what you think about yourself over what God thinks about you. That's pride. It's not good. There's nothing to celebrate. It's not good. Okay, so you don't want that either way. All right, to think that this one is pride, but this one's not, is where we get into, like, by the way, you start thinking you're better than that person. I need to get rid of my pride and keep my pride away and not believe what God says about me. The other person might need to humble themselves a little bit because their tendency is to exalt themselves. Okay, so either way, okay, it's all pride. Don't let anyone kid you. One just is more visible. One looks like humility, but it's not. It's just low self-esteem. And low self-esteem comes from not allowing God to esteem you properly, and you're not receiving that esteem he gives us. All right. So these are things that I had to struggle with. Okay. And even at 60, I'm still taking inventory right now. I mean, I go through these seasons every couple of years where I take inventory. God wants me to go to another level. Now I got to take stock of myself. It's not always fun. I want to be passionate about everything I do till the day I die. And I don't know when that's going to be. I'm hoping, I pray, I have 30 more years with my wife. I always tell her it would be great to get to like 93 and we'll be together for 70 years. I said, I don't know if that's enough for me, but I sure like to spend another 30 years with you. I really would love to spend that long with my wife. I wake up every day and I just look over at it. And by the way, she woke up before me this morning because she had to go get the grandbabies. But I did wake up and we had coffee in the bed together and we chatted. And the other day, like, we make each other laugh. Like, these are the things that a marriage takes time to do. Like, you're in sync and everything. I want to be intentional. Well, envy takes away from that intentionality and it shifts it to, I gotta better myself than that person. That person becomes my enemy, not my friend. And if I'm going to be kind to that person, it's not to say I'm a friend to me more, right? I'm really their enemy. They don't know it. I'm trying to do it through sweetness and stuff by really, you might want to bring them down. I've watched ministers do this. It's not the Spirit of the Lord. You have to be able to rejoice when God does something to someone else in the room, even in your own life when you're lacking that. But here's what you could do. Here's how you fight this off. You all of a sudden see this couple get a financial breakthrough. Don't sit there and go, don't be envious of it. Go up to them and say, look, God just gave you this financial breakthrough. Would you pray for me? I need a financial breakthrough too. And I just would like you to pray over me and Kathy. We need that financial breakthrough too. See, when I get envious, I'm going to cut off that resource. And God put my answer in them. And if I cut off that resource, now we always talk about Job prayed for his friends and God restored everything. But I want you to think that, I want you to realize they allowed Job to pray for them. Remember, they were critical of Job, his three friends. Okay. And he just endured their wrong advice, right? Till a young man came up and gave him wisdom, right? But they also let him pray for them. It was on both sides here. Like, we only think about Job, but it's on their side too. They were corrected by the young man's wisdom. And they said, hey, Job, we were wrong. Pray for us. And Job prayed for them. Sometimes, look, envy is a masquerade. It puts a mask over us. Now here's godliness, okay? verse 16 of James 3. For wherever envy and self-seeking exists, confusion, every evil thing are there. I'm sorry, I started reading on New King James. We'll just do it here. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without hypocrisy. And the seed whose fruit is righteous is sown in peace by those who make peace. Envy doesn't make peace. Envy makes division. That's why Paul says, mark those who cause division and avoid them. Why? I don't know if they're in envy, but they're creating division. That's envious spirit. That's a demonic spirit. Doesn't mean they're demon possessed. It just means there's a demonic influence that's causing this. Cut them off. If they refuse to sit there and stop what they're doing, cut them off. Maintain your culture. Maintain the culture in a house. Maintain the culture amongst your kids. Remain culture amongst your friends group. Good friends celebrate each other. Even when they're going through loss, even when they're going through pain, you still have to celebrate, even though it hurts. But look, it's when we feel we have the least to offer God that our sacrifice of praise has value. It's a sacrifice, Lord. Lord, I'm going through a war zone right now, but I still must praise you and thank you. I give you my praise, Lord. And he knows it was with great sacrifice you gave that, because you didn't feel like it at all. You felt like just giving up, sitting in bed and going through Netflix all day. You just felt like, I just need to veg out, but you gave him praise. It's the sacrifice in that moment. And it's very valuable in the way we war against the enemy. I hope this helps you. Would you like and comment? Let me know where you're watching this from. If you're on there, we don't get a lot of comments, but please comment. I love the comments. It helps me come up with other content. You can help me do this. If you like this content, subscribe and turn on notifications, but let me know. Share it on your platforms, on your friend groups, if you think it has any value. I love you. I'll talk to you.